The Ratchet & Clank 2016 reboot was really disappointing, and I don't mean to say I expected to like it all that much. It's a letdown more so because of what it represents for this series. It's disappointing that what was once a pretty novel and cool concept for an adventurous and fresh action platformer series kept being boiled down and sucked dry of all its thematic content and original spark until it ended up here. Ratchet 2016 marks a kind of crescendo of how to chase mainstream attention so hard, deviating so much from what made your IP to begin with that you end up with almost a completely opposite product to what you started with.
I've died and gone to nerd heaven.
Nerd. I like him.
Or at least a really muddled mess. Since the original is one of my favorite classics, today we're going to be going obsessively in depth. From planet to planet, the ultimate comparison. I think before I begin, it's worth it for me to address two little niggles that run the risk of overshadowing my critique. Number one, remakes are fine because the original will always be there, so they can basically just do what they want now. Faulty logic, my friend. I mean, by that logic, I guess they could have released anything and called it the Ratchet & Clank reboot. Oh, it's the Ratchet & Clank reboot, bit poor, but you know, it's its own thing, so I guess it's immune to criticism. Number two, it's a kid's game, so you should expect it to be for little babies. The original Ratchet was made for kids, and I don't remember it being patronizing. When I played it as a young'un, I didn't seem to need obnoxious tutorials or characters telling me where to go at all times.
Try as he might, Ratchet could not breathe underwater. Try as he might, Ratchet could not breathe underwater. Of course, Ratchet knew he'd have to surface.
More amoeboids on approach.
Sure, I'm a bit of an outlier. Badass as a kid, badass as an adult. Maybe I just didn't notice the original was tough as nails. But what I do notice with this reboot is a failure to enrich players of all ages with a challenging new adventure in terms of character, in terms of world, in terms of themes, and yes, in terms of gameplay and difficulty. And I think that's worth discussing regardless of the target demographic. So let's get to it. Ratchet & Clank 2016 is a remake, in big old quotes, of the 2002 PS2 game of the same name, and was part of some weird joint effort to both reimagine the original title with shiny PS4 graphics and to produce a tie-in CGI movie to enthrall the kiddywinks. So, some context. Ratchet & Clank was a 2002 action platform game starring a young, hot-headed, cantankerous, thrill-seeking mechanic who meets a good-willed, sensitive, somewhat naive robot. The mismatched pair bicker and don't necessarily get along, but strike an accord to travel the galaxy together for their own individual reasons. Through many trials, adventures, etc., they save the universe from a tyrannical businessman and by overcoming many hardships, get over their differences. By the end, forming an unbreakable friendship. Ratchet learning to get over himself, do what's right, and work as a team with Clank to better himself and become a hero. The entire game revolved around themes of consumerism and how blind a world of self-absorption can make people. Ratchet and Clank are the outsiders to this galaxy, and when they arrive, it becomes clear that most living here are egotistical, narcissistic, and looking out for themselves. Everyone in this game wants to get paid, and only a few have perspective on the bigger picture. Even the villain of the game is a corporate CEO, through duplicity and extremely unethical means, tricks his entire race into a full-blown war to make money off the end result of the conflict. These topics all trickled down into the great gameplay that had you exploring all kinds of different planets, collecting currency, and using it to purchase weapons and tools with all kinds of imaginative effects and uses while platforming through hazardous terrain designed by the masters behind the Spyro trilogy. They made a bunch of sequels, and now 14 years later we have Ratchet & Clank for the PlayStation 4, a built from the ground up reboot that tramples all over my favorite game. Okay, but seriously, I'm coming at this from more of an inquisitive standpoint than anything. How does a title penned by just a bunch of game devs have better written characters, and in one scene alone can leave more of an impact than an entire big budget production with professional writers and movie people involved? How can gameplay become faster with millions of assets on screen, and yet I'm way less compelled to explore any of these environments even though most of them were taken from the banging OG title? This is what I wish to answer today. So, let's do that. Before I talk about the remake, I gotta preface by saying in terms of footage for the original, you'll be seeing the PS3's HD collection version, which isn't ideal. There's a lot of visual glitches, and many times things that were not supposed to be seen due to the original's 4:3 resolution are now awkwardly in frame. So just a heads up if you notice anything that looks a bit jank. But without further ado, drumroll! Ratchet & Clank 2016 is about a wide-eyed naive Boy Scout mechanic who meets an also-naive lifeless robot. They instantly become friends after about 5 seconds and for the most part never look or speak to each other again for the rest of the game. After the quick betrayal and redemption of another character entirely, the two save the universe from an evil scientist and learn nothing. The game has themes of heroism and hubris, I guess, but most people in the title are bland, lacking personality, and are just there to make bad jokes. It rips its level design from the original game, and almost everything that isn't from that title is dreary and bland and lacking substance. Almost all weapons, save a few,
come and buy a picture. pixelizer
are taken from older games, but for the most part are not from the one this title is actually trying to remake. So you boot up the game and immediately the title screen just has lazy written all over it. I always feel a title screen is a really cool way to establish the mood of your game before it begins, and the Ratchet series has always had some really great ones. They usually had the heroes doing something mundane, like sort of calm before the storm. Even late in the series, Tools of Destruction had one of these. I love the Gladiator one. The first Ratchet had a really cool one, which gave you a bit of insight into Ratchet building his ship the night before the adventure begins. What a slick way to start the game. Very comfy. Here's just a logo and a planet in the background. Some generic music playing, woo. There isn't even like an options section on the title menu, so if you want to like turn off subtitles or edit the audio settings before you start, guess you're bang out of luck. Oh, and also you can only have one save file. Yeah, I wanted to restart the game from scratch to record footage, but the only way to get a clean save is to erase the old one. I mean, you can create an entire separate account on your PS4 and do that, I guess. But you know what, why can't I just have multiple save slots? Even the difficulty select wants to yuck it up. For people who like fighting sharkigators, what a knee-slapping quirky way to describe a difficulty setting. It's gotta be some hardcore stuff. Takes a lot of wind out of your joke sales though when the mode's easier than just the default difficulty the original had. I guess I just spent a whole segment of this video just on the title screen, huh? The game starts, and of course, what new video game would be complete without trapping you in a room and having a character ask you to do basic actions before you can play the video game? What's fun? So in this game, instead of just wanting to fix a ship, Ratchet also wants to be part of the Galactic Rangers, a group of interstellar heroes led by series mainstay Captain Qwark. They add this big obstacle training course tryout thing onto Veldin so you can jump around and figure things out. Though I don't know how they paced this thing, because despite boxes being everywhere for about 10 minutes, it suddenly traps you in an area and tells you how to break them.
Let's see how well you can bash these crates.
I mean, I've been doing that for a while now. I don't know if this is really necessary. Kids love bashing stuff and hitting buttons. Who's this meant for? Who's gonna get to this point and be like, how do I hit the crates? Once this section ends, it starts to become clear that something isn't quite right with this game. What's with this message? Why are the graphics so pre-rendered and shiny all of a sudden? Ratchet 2016 does this ancient mad practice I haven't seen since Toy Story 2 on PlayStation of splicing clips from the coinciding movie into the game. And even though they follow similar beats, the end result is some very, very awkward moments.
And remember, you can do anything.
Yeah, okay.
As long as you're me. Next! Meanwhile, on planet
Whoa!
42...
Whoa! Where are we? What's going on? Who are these people? That was kind of sudden. I mean, we were just on this other planet, now we're on this planet. Cut so abruptly, it's terrible.
Next! Meanwhile, on planet 42...
Within a split second of watching some wacky comedy moment, we're thrown into this scene where the two main villains and the muscly leader of the henchmen are all in a room without an introduction. And then suddenly, boom, we're on the conveyor belt from Attack of the Clones and Clank is just kind of there. Just stop. Just a million things just happen in 5 seconds. The opening of the first game was so simple and concise. We see Ratchet on Veldin building his ship, we see Clank popping out of a machine, he escapes, crashes on Veldin, and after a quick video establishing the villain's plan, we get going. All with no dialogue until the two are together. I found that a really cool little touch. We don't actually hear either character speak until they're side by side.
Interesting.
It gives our heroes and their demeanor a little mystery before they're revealed.
You're quite handy with your wrench.
You bet. I built that ship with it.
But of course, Clank is already saying random bollocks right out of the gate as Sylvester Stallone chases him down.
Not that brute again.
Great, was that dialogue worth it? Did you feel that accomplished anything? I know that was really important stuff to get across to the audience. Interesting to see I already have the bolts collected by Ratchet, a character Clank hasn't met yet. This is such a confusing cutscene, from the haphazard cut to all the villains just being there suddenly with no intro, to Clank just being on a conveyor belt with no real idea of where the hell he came from. What is this mess? Is this the movie to blame? Well, yes it is. In the movie there's a scene at the start, not present in the game, where we meet Drek and his minions before Ratchet. But that isn't in the game, so when we cut suddenly from Veldin to this factory after like 20 minutes of playing and all the villains are on screen at once without introduction, it's like the clunkiest presentation ever. This needed a little more alteration before it got put in the game this awkwardly. So Clank crash lands and Ratchet is all mopey. Oh, I can't be in the super squad, boo-hoo. Ratchet goes to the crash landing, and here's where we get into the big changes to all the characters. So if you haven't noticed by now, Ratchet is basically a completely different character, and the way they've changed him doesn't make all that much sense in the context of the gameplay. Okay, so the dynamic Ratchet and Clank had back in the day was that Ratchet was a bit of a tough guy.
Look, that lieutenant doesn't seem so tough. Let's take him out ourselves.
A bit abrasive, quick to irritate, got mad when some bullshit went down or somebody messed with him.
Captain Qwark is gonna be sorry he messed with me.
And Clank had a much lighter demeanor, more cerebral, more understanding.
This is not about Captain Qwark anymore. There are innocent lives being lost.
So Ratchet's stages were all about blowing the shit out of everything, and Clank's couple of stages were about puzzle solving and didn't feature much combat. But now Ratchet is totally different. He's this wide-eyed goody two-shoes who wants to become like a space police cop so he can help people and be a hero. It's the guy's dream and it doesn't make any sense anymore. The gameplay of viciously murdering people with weapons fit a character with a bit of an edge to him. Dude is savagely killing hundreds of sentient beings, but this new Ratchet is like this cuddly critter no doubt they want to use to sell some plushies so the kids can cuddle up to him at night. But really, is this what kids want? Instead of being a cool go-getter or hold-no-punches lad who explores the galaxy and does things his own way, kids want to be some little tyke who idealizes clearly stupid people and gets called rookie while being told what to do the whole game?
In time, rookie.
It's just lame. Ratchet's motivation for going on an adventure in this game is so overly drawn out. I need to go to the tryouts to become a Galactic Ranger, it's my dream. This random robot needs to tell the Galactic Rangers about a threat, so I'm gonna lie about knowing them as an excuse to go see them with him?
The Rangers are actually my, friends.
This line is never brought up again and serves no purpose. Why can't Ratchet just give him a lift? Why is it gotta be a lie? Ratchet's motivation and reason for doing what he does is established effortlessly in the original. Ratchet's trying to build a ship. Man, he looks upset when he can't. He finally got it working, now he's in space. He looks back and says,
So that's where I've been stuck this whole time.
Brilliant, beautiful, cut it, we're done here. Oh, can't do that in a movie. Gotta have the motivations and the payoffs and the peaks and the rises and whatevers. His goal is to leave a goddamn desert he's been stuck on his whole life. He's also proactive about it. Instead of being all, oh, I can't do it. After leaving the planet, the first thing he does is try to repay the robot who helped him get his ship working by finding Captain Qwark, who would supposedly be the one to help Clank defeat Drek. He doesn't really seem all that interested in stopping the villain for most of the game.
Did you see all the cool gadgets they're making? Let's go get some.
No, we must continue our search for Captain Qwark.
That is something that is achieved with a, say it with me now, character arc. Yeah, I know, spooky stuff, right? I know you kids aren't really used to that in your little jumpy games. I mean, it makes sense. If he crash-landed next to some gun-toting hillbilly, I'm sure he'd need at least a little convincing before he went on a super dangerous adventure with you to stop an evil mastermind.
Well, I'm done with this stupid hero stuff. I got my own agenda now.
Ratchet, this is not like you.
What do you know about me? You've spent this whole time looking for Qwark. You don't know anything about me.
I know that you will do the right thing.
He develops through the game, and it isn't really until right at the end that he grows into a hero and becomes Clank's friend. A nice origin story.
You know, this time I am thinking what you're thinking.
Classic buddy cop stuff. You kids never seen Rush Hour? Through adversity and learning to work together via hardship, two polar opposites become friends. Here it's like they're friends right out of the gate. There's no banter, no nothing. We're lovable blank slates. No character flaws to be resolved here. Buy the toys, kids. In the original, after hours of bickering and clashing, the two finally defeat Drek. Their alliance needs no longer exist.
My arm appears to be badly damaged.
Ah, you'll be alright.
When Ratchet tells Clank he'll be fine, the little guy just assumes that's it for the pair. I can't even watch this scene, to be honest. It gets me every time.
Hey, Tin Can! Where do you think you're going? We, still need to fix that arm.
Of course, it's not the end for the pair. They're friends forever now. They've been through so much. Even if they were polar opposites to begin with, it's brought them together, which is so satisfying to see. You can see why these two would be inseparable forever after this.
Slow down. You've been in a crash. What do you say we get you back to my garage? I'll run a diagnostic and have you fixed up in no time.
Oh, well, I guess Ratchet is just gonna fix Clank right at the start. Suppose we don't need any of that bonding. Look, I get it right, I'm harping on about this, maybe only I care about this baby boy game and its characters, but holy shit, you're remaking this origin story. The tale that is supposed to establish these two as an inseparable duo. And yet they don't talk to each other like at all throughout the game. They just stare blankly at other characters, sharing no words, no bantering to develop their dynamic. You know, it's kind of like two people who, you know, sort of know each other. They're acquaintances, but they don't really grill each other. Like, you can just tell they don't know each other quite well enough to make any cuts too deep. I don't buy that these two know each other. These guys would become inseparable teammates.
I am Clank. This is Ratchet. I am Clank. This is Ratchet.
I'm Clank and this is Ratchet? Oh yeah, great chemistry, really building up the relationship here. Why is this so important, you ask? Because these masterminds sunk all this money into making Ratchet and Clank the new hit brand of the moment, revitalizing them as an iconic duo, yet they won't put the legwork in to establish them as anything more than two dudes who are just best friends because that's the title of the game. Qwark gets more of a character arc than these two, and oh boy, we'll be getting into Qwark, don't you worry. Something I at least maybe expected them to do with this new version of the story is to at least integrate some of the wild retcons they made later down the line in the series. The whole Chosen One, Ratchet is the last of his race, played out drivel they crowbarred into the future series, even though we had seen other members of his race before, but it doesn't really come up at all. I mean, I'm actually kind of glad about that, but it's just kind of weird that they didn't bring it up. Neither does Clank's totally thought out origin as Mystic Timekeeper get brought up. You know, when I say this stuff out loud, it just lets, well...
Yeah, the new lore wasn't the best thought out.
Yo, what a coincidence that the Timekeeper robot and the last of his race guy were just on the same planet and they just crash landed next to each other. What a coincidence. These weren't stupid ideas at all. So the enemies from the original game were the Blarg. They're like this super evil alien race with no pupils, so you know they were soulless bad guys and they clearly just wanted you dead on sight. But now, because everything has to be a joke, the Blarg are these comedy lads who talk banter before you start the massacre.
We gotta look for some defect. It's not that bad. We got clean air, warm heat of the sun. This is nature. We never had any of this back on... What? What happened? Just got bit by a mosquito!
Which makes cuddly Ratchet here seem like even more of a crazy psycho than ever. I just want to be in the Galactic Rangers. Now let's roast some people.
What's this? Fun with singularities and other cataclysmic events?
That's really more for educational purposes. It is always good to meet a fellow academic.
Fellow academic? Clank was just born like 5 minutes ago. How is he already an academic? What's he been reading? Like in the original, the two crash land on a planet called Novalis. I mean, I say crash, but they don't actually show the crash in the PS4 version, they just sort of scream a bit. I mean, yeah, the crash looked pretty, like off in the original. But come on guys, really just a black screen? This is the first level lifted straight from the PS2 game. The level design almost directly copied, but something just feels off. Something about moving around and exploring here compared to the original just doesn't, seem right.
Something doesn't seem right.
I'll give you 2 guesses as to why that might be. Ding ding. Yeah, the game runs at 30 FPS, and to hide that fact, we also have excessive motion blur, which makes turning the camera and looking around just unpleasant. The original had a slick 60 frames per second, the perfect smoothness you need for precise platforming. But here we gotta make the graphics supercharged. The thing about graphics like this is that, okay, when looking at trailers or screenshots for a remake of this kind, it can be impressive. It's like, wow, look at how far we've come. But when you actually sit down and play the title, all that gloss and shine, once you're in the game for a while, it kind of fades away into the back of your mind. It just becomes background noise, and then crap frame rate and blurry camera become a real annoyance. When I'm sat down and playing a game, I just want what makes it play the best. And cramming loads of shit on the screen doesn't go towards facilitating such things. I was about to give this level some points for making this cutscene in the original of a ship destroying this bridge into real time, but they immediately get taken away the next second when this unskippable scene of the characters yapping on is included.
That must be the mayor's ship.
One of the most iconic characters in the series is the plumber. He's this sardonic working class guy who becomes a recurring gag throughout the series for showing up in out of place locations running into our heroes. The first cutscene where you meet him in the original game is pretty great.
Blast it!
Look, plumber's crack.
What did you just say?
I said, look, the plumber's back.
All right, wise guy. Shouldn't you be on one of them escape transports?
It's punchy, funny, and fills us in on the cynical consumeristic nature of the universe while establishing what the character is doing there and building up the background of the game's world. Even our two leads' difference in diction is made a point of, super smoothly too.
The escape transports are taking all the rich folks off this gall-darn planet.
So why aren't you on one?
Socioeconomic disparity.
What?
He hasn't got enough bolts.
What a great cutscene. What a nicely perfectly cut together moment. It's no wonder people remember the plumber so much from just like a minute of screen time.
Geronimo!
Did he just slide down a sewer pipe?
So of course in this new game it's this stilted, undirected scene where the three models stand looking at each other. Awkward little pauses cutting off the flow of the conversation.
I'm getting a touch of the old deja vu.
I don't think so.
It's minimal, but you can tell the flow just isn't quite there like in the original.
This entire region is overrun with Blargian dropships. We need to get you out of here.
Why? Why is this suddenly a rescue mission? Ratchet and Clank don't have time for this.
If you can take out all the sand sharks, I just might have a spare hoverboard for you.
We'd love to help you, Mr. McMarks, but Ratchet and I need to find Captain...
One of your boards?
Unless you got something to offer up.
Well, I can't go anywhere until I get this here infobot into the hands of Captain Qwark.
We were on our way to speak with him when our ship was shot down. Perhaps we could take a look.
Well, sure.
Why is this conversation so bland? The characters used to be so animated. Who would find any of these dull, lifeless cardboard cutouts memorable? It's incredible how much character building was crammed into the cutscenes in the original.
There's an awful plot being hatched to destroy our planets.
Ratchet, he knows.
Great. Does that mean we can go hoverboarding now?
It made it a treat to complete a mission and meet a new NPC for our heroes to bounce off of. Here they don't even look at each other. They don't even look at each other. Where's the eye contact? Hey, but if we add loads of whimsical music into the scene, then I guess that means it has high production value, doesn't it?
Because I'm getting a touch of the old deja vu. Deja vu!
The video the plumber shows us here is an infobot explaining Drek's plan. Something analogous to this was shown to Ratchet by Clank right at the start of the original game, but now it's here 10 times as wacky, 10 times as cringe.
Drek Industries is working for you.
Drek Industries is not working for you.
Wow, what a contradictory infomercial. Who will stop this crazy satire? Interestingly, a plot twist that was reserved until right at the end of the original game is now tossed aside as a random ironic gag in this new game. You see, the reason Drek is looking to destroy planets, to take their parts to build a new world, is because the home of his people, the Blarg, was contaminated and he wants to create a new one. But at the end, right in the middle of the final boss, the truth is revealed.
There must be another way to make a home for your people.
You think that's what this is about? Who do you think polluted our last world? I did. You see, I've been paid for every square inch of my new world. Once the inhabitants move in, I will begin polluting this world as well. Then the whole thing starts all over again.
What a piece of trash. Even Clank is speechless.
Why, you evil little...
Here's just, yeah, we'll make a quick joke out of it, I guess.
Years ago, we were driven underground by pollution that may or may not, but most definitely was, caused by my father's company.
Now look, I'm not going to say that Drek was some kind of brilliant villain. He had some gags, he had some gaffes, but he was generally at least a mofo that meant business. Now he's wacky poor Giamatti being another zany character, making loads of jokes and yucking it up with that cringe humor. Like, is it too much to ask for one character to be a serious threat? Everybody has to be cracking ironic jokes. Funny how they got a celebrity voice for this new Drek when the original actor was, the evil alien guy from Lilo and Stitch. How about that? Would it be nice to see him again, but I guess we need some names to put on the poster for our movie.
I thought we were done for sure. We are happy to be of assistance. Why is Drek trying to kill you?
What happened to these cutscenes? They used to have such energy. Ratchet being devious.
What are you? Mercenaries? Torturers? Assassins?
Sir, we're not assassins.
Hold on. Let's see what he's got.
Characters having real reactions to the horrible situation they're in.
Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
So this cutscene establishes Skid McMarks needing rescue on a hostile planet. Skid being a celebrity in this universe known for hoverboard racing.
It's my nephew, Skid McMarks.
Excuse me, nephew? Was that, a necessary addition to the story? I mean, what the... Oh yeah, another thing. These little videos that give you the data to go to new planets, the original had this thing where Ratchet and Clank would react to the video afterwards, giving their opinion on the mad universe they're in. Sometimes they'd even argue about whether or not it was worthwhile to go to the place being displayed.
July Resort, Pokitaru.
I knew it.
Oh, come on. Switch off your nerd circuits and have some fun. Look. We'll go just long enough to pick up the O2 mask.
Perhaps the extra oxygen will help your brain to function properly.
Yeah, and maybe the salt water will rust your mouth shut.
No time for that shit now. Just record some dialogue over the gameplay of them being like, we have to go there.
Skid McMarks is in trouble. We gotta get to Iridia.
Agreed.
Hey, wait a minute, Clank already has the hydro pack to propel himself underwater, but he doesn't have the thruster pack or helipack, which get added on later? Why would this defective robot have a special underwater propulsion mode just built in? Funny, you wouldn't think Clank would be waterproof at all in this world when Drek's head army bot's weakness is water.
Water!
I wonder why he has it already. Is it because they cut the level where it's acquired in the original? The level is a pretty accurate representation of the original. The design in this stage was already great. I love how you can go up into the waterworks and see the entire level down from the window. And the same window can be seen from down in the valley below. The remake includes all of this, plus a hidden extra route I'm surprised they put the time into including again. Though the secret path under the river, that's just gone, I guess. Suppose that was a little too much effort to recreate. Well, you know, we all gotta take a break now and then.
But first, they'd have to tackle a brain-eating zombie T-Rex.
Hey, wait a minute. I don't recall no brain-eating zombie T-Rex.
Okay, fine. Killjoy.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I guess I should probably talk about where that hilarious fourth wall breaking came from. Just say random words, it'll be funny. The story starts with this meta setup where Captain Qwark is in jail after the events of the game, and he's telling his new prison roomie what happened during the course of the title.
They're making a game based on a holofilm based on my life? But they haven't even consulted me!
Turns out it doesn't really affect anything. It's just another excuse for them to have Qwark occasionally butt in and say something unfunny over the gameplay. Yeah, that's where Qwark's voice was coming from in that jarring transition. You might think this is an attempt to frame the game as having an untrustworthy narrator. Maybe this is the Qwark from the original and he's lying about what happened. But no, at the end Ratchet shows up and it looks like what happened just the way Qwark said. So basically nothing changes, but it lets us make hilarious gut-busting jokes like this one.
Brain-eating zombie T-Rex.
Well, you look about all fixed up here. Now promise me you'll get that infobot to Captain Qwark.
I promise. Thanks for your help.
Bland! So we finally have a working ship to travel to different planets with and... oh. So something that I really liked about the original game was this sense of having your own little ship to explore different planets in. It gave a really cool sense of context to the idea of traveling to different levels instead of having like a magic portal system like many 3D platformers of the time. To make this even better, the loading screens between planets were these cool little scenes of the ship traveling through space before eventually touching down at the destination. These little movies went on to become pretty iconic parts of the series. Yeah, it's just a little repeated shot that masks a loading screen, but it goes a long way to make you feel, at least a little bit, like you're traveling to a new place. There was a lot of competition back in the day to create seamless worlds and avoid having to display immersion-breaking screens with some loading text. Here though, that's out the window, isn't it? Just a dry, lifeless tutorial screen with some obvious message written at the bottom. Something I do have to give Ratchet 2016 though, ooh, that's a new one.
Agreed.
Is how it has a bit of the non-linearity that the game it's based on had. In the first game, you could collect coordinates to different planets and sometimes go to them in alternate orders. This really made the game feel like an adventure. You were darting around trying to put the pieces together to reach your next destination. As the series went on though, this design ethos fell by the wayside, and the games became fairly linear with not many branching paths. Ratchet 2016 brings this back, and it's possible to get to later planets even faster than in the original. Though that might have something to do with the cut levels. Where this is ruined though is in how the game goes about giving you objectives. Everything that doesn't lead to a path that continues the story has a big old optional marker over it. This sucks because in the first game there was no way to tell which routes would give you a plot critical item. So it felt like you were exploring these planets looking for different clues instead of just being railroaded from place to place. Sometimes the longest routes in a level would lead to an optional item, so you never knew what to expect. The element of surprise has been flushed down the drain here. So here we are at one of the most iconic levels from the original, Metropolis, or Illyro City now, I guess. I wonder why the name was changed, because this is just Metropolis. I don't know, I mean they called it Metropolis in the trailers.
Really had to go and save Metropolis and get...
Is anybody but me keeping track of this stuff? Most things from the original level are here, although the obstacle course area has been placed at the end of the train station route, making it a much more linear planet. I guess this would be a good time to mention though one of the most unforgivable aspects of this game. The soundtrack is really bad. The OG Adventure had some really cool tunes, man. Catchy, groovy techno beats that fit the sci-fi clunker mechanical vibe the first title had. The Metropolis level specifically had a great theme. pretty iconic sounding. They even remixed it in the Metropolis level in the 3rd game. So what is this snooze cruise? I don't know why the original soundtrack wasn't used. I think fans of any game at least enjoy the opportunity to play a remake to hear updated or remixed versions of old tracks. That stuff's iconic, man, you can't just throw it in the bin. But here we are with this just absolutely forgettable generic movie style score. It's just a complete mockery of the original spot-on compositions. Go to any video for a piece of music from the original game on YouTube and every comment is people just wondering why they didn't use this stuff again. This is why when it comes to getting the big nostalgia bucks, Sony just don't nail it in the way other companies do. Even when they have memorable stuff in their games like the original Ratchet OST, they fail to make use of it. So we meet Big Al and he looks, I don't know, he has a beard, I guess, for some reason. Oh yeah, this again.
I've died and gone to nerd heaven.
Nerd.
I like him.
I mean, what is the point of having a buddy adventure where the two main characters are now just the same? Who wants to play as some dork? What business does a nerd have in the ways of brutal weapon use? Wait a minute, did they make Ratchet a nerd in this game because nerds play a lot of video games? Was old Ratchet just too cool for the video nerds? Am I a normie? Oh man, no wonder my tastes are so good. Look at this schmuck, he doesn't even ask for payment for his work on Clank.
Hop onto my workbench. I'll get you all squared away.
In the original game, every character asked for a fee, even if you saved them.
How about I sell you these? At cost.
Sell? After we just saved your scrawny butt?
All right. I'll give you the employee discount too.
The levels of absolute greed everybody had accentuated the commercialized nature of the universe. Here everybody is just like, yeah, I'll give up my time and labor for you, stranger. Everything revolves around Ratchet and Clank now. It was clear that before, everybody had their own agenda and our duo weren't the center of the universe.
I could have the little guy up and flying in no time. Of course, I'll just need my fee for service.
Peeps gotta get paid.
Ratchet, am I cool now?
Yeah, you the man, Clank.
You're welcome. Try it out.
Looking good, pal.
Geez, how are these characters so dull? Just stare blankly, Ratchet. Don't have a personality. Nobody go off-brand, guys. Oh, I remember this part. The original game had these little hidden secret tasks called skill points, where if you did a small, cool hidden objective, you could unlock a sort of hidden in-game achievement, with inbuilt trophies in consoles kind of taking the same role. Obviously, that kind of system's out the window now. But who knows, maybe you can still, pull some of them off. One of the cool ones was flying down onto Al's shop and landing on the roof. Let's see if you can do it in this one just for the kicks. Oh. Guess not. The obstacle course is here, but weirdly enough, there's no Helga the training robot at the end to taunt our heroes. Helga was this one-off character who just appeared in a couple of cutscenes here, but she was so memorable that she went on to appear in other titles thereon after. She's not here in the reboot, and this marks a trend this new title is all too happy to follow. The original had a variety of one-off characters who would maybe appear on a planet for one cutscene, make a few exchanges, and then be gone. This gave a great sense of all the different inhabitants that lived in each world. Just by interacting with one of them, it gave you an idea of what the rest of the planet might be like. I always loved this in the original game. Arriving on a new planet and wondering what kind of crazy inhabitant you'd get to meet was exciting. Better than just running into a room with lifeless models. The franchise slowly stopped doing this, reusing characters who would appear in every level. I mean, remember cowboy guy? The reboot is all too happy to remove most of these one-off characters in favor of just finding stuff lying on the ground. Adventure! You know, I was never the biggest fan of all the games giving Ratchet these weird-looking power armors throughout the series. They just looked a little too busy, you feel me? They did start getting a bit better as time went on, but holy shit, this one's just ugly. Damn, can we not wear that? Anyway, another planet down.
Skid McMarks! I have seen every one of your races. You pulled off a triple Nova.
These cutscenes are the worst. They're so bad.
It's him, Skid McMarks.
That man from the infobot.
In the flesh, little dude.
How do they take the boisterous charm and animation of the characters in the original and turn it into this? Ugh, oh. Nobody makes eye contact. It's like everyone's got, problems.
Are you just, hungry? Because when this is over, I could go for some food. Like a cheeseburger or some space pizza.
Why is Skid telling me he's hungry? Is that a joke? Why does everyone in this game have access to my radio?
Brax, you better check the Hall of Heroes and make sure they didn't make it inside.
Copy that.
And so help me, if I have to put...
Why does nobody shut up in this game?
Boom! Ammo acquired. Your new Tesla rockets should be able to damage the...
Oh boy.
Those saucers are about to attack.
Your do a barrel roll.
It's insane. It's like there's no escape from the bad jokes and the cuddling tutorials.
Try as he might, Ratchet could not breathe underwater. Of course, Ratchet knew he'd have to surface to breathe.
Yes, Captain Qwark does remind you can't breathe underwater every time you're underwater.
Search the area for Skid's agent. He may need our assistance. We should search the area for Skid's agent. He may need our assistance.
Yeah, Clank, remind me of what to do. Don't let me figure anything out for myself.
Look out! Look out!
How are you even seeing what's in front of us to make these warnings?
I detect more blarg in the area.
Really needed that heads up, Clank. In my complete madness, I decided to measure the amount of seconds there are between each line of dialogue in the Iridia level, adding the gaps all up and then making an average. With this very scientific method, I have concluded that in this level somebody speaks an average of every 8 seconds. Like, I swear I had the full numbers for that written down somewhere, but look, I've been making this video for a while now. I kind of lost them. Yeah, sometimes there's like a minute gap, but other times there's just line after line after line.
Late night munchy Dad.
Like, what happened to just playing a level and sucking in the atmosphere? This cacophony of noise is just obnoxious. The only noise I should be hearing is good music and the sound of things going boom. And speaking of the things that go boom, the weapons in this game. I feel like in remaking this title, there was a real missed opportunity to update the weapons from the original, to show them with the PS4's power. Some of them make a return, I guess, but a lot of the most iconic devices are missing in action, just replaced by a bunch of weapons from the more recent titles. And that includes... I really hate Mr. Zircon. He's this unfunny meme weapon that the series has been obsessed with for ages. Want to add some more unfunny lines to the clatter of noise in each level? Bring out Mr. Zircon and listen to him say he wants to kill things. There's no strategy to using this guy. Hey, you want someone else to shoot the enemies for you? Just click on the Zircon item now and again and just look at him go. The only strategy here is to remember to press it. There's no downside. The only way to fail at using Zircon is to forget he exists. You either press it, or you don't. Great. So between giving us some new weapons and remaking the old ones, they just decided to take the middle ground and just use a bunch of old weapons, but not the ones from the actual game they're trying to recreate. The original had this unlockable helmet that let you summon this small guy in a saucer. He was hidden in various levels, so it even rewarded exploration. Plus, unlike Zircon's puny little blaster, he ripped the shit out of enemies. Machine gun style. Best of all, though, is that he didn't speak. You wouldn't see Dante using a Mr. Zircon anytime soon, I tell you that much.
No talking.
Some of the original weapons were just far out, man. Like, holy shit, remember the Visibomb? This weapon that you could literally fly around the whole level by remote control and destroy enemies from a distance. This shit was next gen, man. Let me remind you that Ratchet on PS2 ran at 60 FPS and had this shit in it. The Visibomb, of course, has fallen out of favor with the series. Too much of a headache to implement it now, I guess. The weapons also now have these stat upgrade things, and I've never been a huge fan of this stuff. Is a tiny boost in ammo count or power really going to impact how I'm playing the game? Not really, it's just a tedious exercise going into this menu and making sure everything is in peak condition. When at the end of the day, it doesn't change the fact that all I'm going to be doing is moving from side to side jumping and mashing shoot anyway. One of the only entirely new guns is the Pixelizer, which turns enemies into retro-looking blocks. But I didn't buy it. Why? Because the vendor...
If you hoard all those bolts, you're not helping the economy. Come and buy a Pixelizer. It's a good investment.
will not stop asking you to get one.
Come and buy a Pixelizer.
If you have enough money and don't buy the Pixelizer, he'll keep reminding you.
Got enough to buy a Pixelizer.
And reminding you.
You're not helping the economy. Come and buy a Pixelizer.
And reminding you.
Come and buy a Pixelizer.
And reminding you.
Come and buy a Pixelizer.
Well, guess what? You just lost a sale. No, I don't care if there's an achievement or I don't get 100%. Sorry, I'm just not getting it. You can keep asking, but even on a New Game Plus, it still isn't happening. It's never gonna happen. Sorry guys, better luck next time with that, I guess. I suppose the old weapons wouldn't fit with the new motif this game has of everything looking slick and iPhone-y. Everything in the original game had this really retro clunker-junker look to it. The idea that all the weapons and gadgets were bolted together haphazardly. You know, it fit the mood of playing as a planet-hopping mechanic who whacks things with a giant spanner. This encompassed the whole aesthetic of the game, with a hardened menu that had old CRT fuzzy patterns in them. Of course, this is modern sci-fi now, so everything has to be shiny and that cool rip-roaring old-school style the original had is gone in the trash. If you pre-ordered though, you can get the Bouncer, a weapon from the second game. Basically costs nothing. It's totally overpowered and breaks the game, but you know, we had to get that little extra cash, you know what I'm saying? Ah yeah, there's this little skill point in this section of the level where if you get to the top of these platforms without touching the ground, you'd get the reward. I know there's no skill points now, but let's see if it's doable here. It's a bit of a tradition for me. come on. Oh, we can... Yeah, it's happening. This thing looks on like crazy. Yeah, man, you can't keep the old habits down, not even here. Hey, Nebula G34 is next, which means, you guessed it, we have our first remake casualty. Eldora? Was this cool tree forest level. It had this neat theme to it where Drek was looking to get trees for his new planet, so the whole place was this big lumber operation where the enemies had buzzsaws and big axes. Wasn't entirely crucial to the plot or anything, but had a cool subversion of the henchman leader trope by just dropping him from the game after scaring him off.
You sure showed him.
Yeah, you get the suck cannon there, pretty iconic weapon, which of course isn't in this remake. Nebula G34 itself is pretty untouched. The Clank level's puzzle design is completely changed though. I was never the biggest fan of the Clank stages in the original, they were maybe a bit too much of a pace breaker, but at least they served as a bit of contrast to Ratchet. A little time to slow down as a small and insignificant tiny speck of a guy. Here though, they try and make it super hectic. Like, what is with this music? Can I not just enjoy the vastness of space with something a little more mellow? Jeez, it's like go, go, go! I guess it's worth pointing out that the only time Ratchet and Clank ever really talk is in the throwaway gameplay dialogue, and the exchanges are as bland as you'd expect.
Come in, Ratchet. I just located a pair of Magna boots. Returning to your position now.
Awesome! I always wanted a pair of Magna boots. Good work, pal. See you in a bit.
An explosion of personality.
At this point, Ratchet realized he would have to go to Rilgar and find a trespasser.
Except how, Qwark? Why would he know he needed to go to a specific planet to get an item he doesn't know is there? I get that you're just a disembodied voice narrating the game, but even you must be able to tell that what you just said made no sense.
At this point, Ratchet realized
Yeah, just keep triggering that line every time I walk over this plate. Jeez. Rilgar, of course, is just another level that forgoes its dank original music track. Some nonsense, who cares? It's kinda cool how there are a couple more races to do now on the hoverboard track than in the original, but it's not like you'll want to do them when you hear how much the announcer likes to speak.
What a trick! Are we looking at the next Skid McMarks here? What a trick! Are we looking at the next Skid McMarks here? What a trick! Are we looking at the next Skid McMarks here?
The black market Rhino salesman has been moved. Kinda liked how he's just some optional guy on the street you could run into who would so happen to have on sale the most powerful weapon in the game. Instead now he's over here and looking far less fly than he used to. The Rhino is now acquired, this time by collecting some trading cards, which doesn't really tie in at all to the whole capitalist bent the universe had, but whatever, I'm not gonna start crying over this one. It's fine. Though once you unlock it, it just has the same design as the Tools of Destruction Rhino. It's like if you're gonna reuse the look of a Rhino, why not reuse the look of the one from the game you're trying to remake? God damn, do I really need a little victory jingle after surviving a section? Like, aw, there, little baby beat the level. Get out of here. This time, the Trespasser is acquired on Rilgar, and I got to say I quite liked this little hacking minigame back in the original. It's cool to see it fairly untouched here. It even adds a few extra elements into the mix with these rings. Whatever, you know, I'm not going to explain how the Trespasser works, I'm not making this video that long. Shame it's another one of these warps you into the hacking dimension minigames instead of just being on screen with the rest of the gameplay. Also, Insomniac lets you skip them now, having zero confidence clearly in anyone but me wanting to actually do this stuff, making them in essence entirely pointless unless you want a trophy. Umbris is another planet that gets cut. Originally it was a sort of obstacle course challenge level that Qwark set up to defeat Ratchet, but they didn't even bother trying to shoehorn it into this game. It had something that a lot of the levels here don't have anymore, which is a sort of themed set of challenges with various rules you need to learn over the course of the level. First you get these mines that start appearing in bigger packs, this switch puzzle that escalates in complexity, and finally tanks full of killer fish that get bigger and bigger and harder to circumvent. In the reboot, most levels are just throw loads of enemies into the room and then throw some more loads of enemies into the room. The boss from this level does make an appearance back on Nebula G34 in the reboot, though this marks yet another instance of this game's approach to combat just being pretty repetitive. I'm not going to say the boss in the original was some masterpiece fight, but at least it had something going on. You had to trick him into like going into the lava? Yeah, I know it's a bit cliched, but it's something to do. Point here, it's strafe around and jump and shoot, like everywhere else in the game. Maybe we should talk a bit about combat. The original game had some old school basic movement, but this did lead to the weapons having a more strategic use. Instead of just running into a fight and mashing buttons fast, you could think out your approach with different tactics. Shoot the Visibomb in from a distance, create mines and lure enemies in with the Taunter, make decoys in a tough situation. Having way less health made the player rely on a greater degree of strategies. In this game, all I felt I ever did was run from side to side and mash jump and shoot until everything disappeared. Since movement is so fast, the only way to up the challenge is to just have 10,000 enemies just thrown in the level, eliminating any sort of challenge the older game could display by only having a few enemies with considered positions. I won't claim there are no strategic opportunities here. Like in the original, some weapons are better for crowd control versus long-range assault. It just never felt like I had to work very hard to get out of a situation, especially with the Groovatron on hand to just stun all enemies and make them helpless. And this is on that tough-as-nails hard mode. At least there are more options for quick selecting weapons, which I always like in a game. You know, that's to be expected. You're not getting any points for that. Once again, another one-off character isn't featured at the station and in many other places. If I count them all, we'll be here all day, so just take my word for it. In fact, let's spend a few moments in silence for these forgotten cast members. Gaspar's up next, and this planet has seen a lot of changes. A lot of things do remain the same, but a secret path that led through all these battleships has been removed. And now it's one of these open area, collect a bunch of random objects side missions a lot of the old Ratchets had. Honestly, I don't really mind what they did with this level. It's kind of cool how it starts rather linear, but once you unlock the jetpack, the entire place becomes explorable as one huge sandbox. This guy's awful jokes notwithstanding. I'm glad such memorable characters could make way for this guy.
And now to create my army. Get ready for a reckoning, Daryl. Stealing my tuna sandwich right out of the fridge? Boy, did you mess with the wrong bloke.
How ironic. You see, that's a totally over-the-top retaliation. Such banter. Weirdly, Battalia is now snowy instead of rainy. I guess it's law that all platformers have a snow level, and since they removed the original snow level from the game, well, we're just gonna coat this one in some snow and call it a day. One of the infobots you get on this planet is just this dry video message from Ratchet's mechanic, parental figure guy. Grim, was it? And it's rather out of place. I mean, I guess we can chalk up cut levels and really low quality cutscenes to just, diminishing returns. The graphics have to be really good. We don't have time to make the game now. The original game was this proactive adventure where everything you found directed you to a new location. It wasn't like you just get a phone call from somewhere and then that changes where everyone is going to go for the next level. Here, characters can just be out of the blue like, well, let's go to the enemy's lair and invade now, I guess.
Let's rendezvous and follow those blarg back to Qwark.
Stop telling me what to do! Also, why has this message been sent in an infobot that landed on this planet, like in the middle of nowhere? Pretty sure everybody in the universe has access to my radio communications since nobody stops talking. Could have just given me a ring.
Do a barrel roll!
This level now includes a tag-along by some lady who's in the Galactic Rangers. Ugh, the whole Galactic Rangers thing, geez, rubs me the wrong way, I tell ya. These characters do basically nothing the whole game and rob the title of that cool sense of, I'm just some insignificant rando out there doing stuff, putting the pieces together and overcoming the odds by myself feeling. It's like, is she really helping me all that much by following me through this level? No, but now it's like I have to share the credit with this nobody character I couldn't care less about. I mean, I know nothing about her. Who is she? Just some chick. Do you? I give you 5 seconds to comment what you know about her. But at least Drek, instead of really being in the game at all and us seeing his plans develop, is just yelling as the stage goes on.
You like living underground?
I'm sure if Planet Hoven was actually in this game and you had to stop it from getting blown up like before, there'd be some unfunny ranger character tagging along with you through the whole thing, barking orders Ratchet's way. Yeah, this is also the part where I got enough gold bolts to unlock a special cheat. Yeah, you see, there's an option in the game that lets you speed the gameplay up. Basically, they put turbo mode in Ratchet & Clank if you get enough gold bolts. And, I'm not turning that shit off. I've got a life I want to get back to once this review's over. Weirdly, the plumber, one of the few characters to make 2 appearances in the original, is not on Battalia this time. Which means no bolt magnet detector? Okay, sure, maybe I'm not even too sad about that one. Was another cool thing to just have in the game for some fun. Everything is tightly controlled here, though. No helmets, no bolt collecting.
Nothing extraneous, please. Nothing the focus group didn't tell us was great.
At least they did add the box basher from Ratchet 2. I like that thing. It was around about now in the original game that Qwark had betrayed the duo, and Ratchet was extremely mad at Clank for getting him into this situation.
I wonder what that infobot is for.
Maybe it can replace you.
Ratchet kind of viewing Clank as the embodiment of his own naivety for getting him involved.
Is that all you can think about? Drek this and Drek that? I got my own problems.
If you cannot see the importance of this situation, you do have problems.
Yeah? Well, if you're so smart, how come you fell for Qwark's stupid trick?
So the two would go at it on what they should do next. Ratchet just wanting to hunt down Qwark and Clank wanting Drek defeated. This part of the game was really interesting because it really put Clank in a hard position. Man, the galaxy is like doubly screwed now that Ratchet, the only guy kind of shooting the bad guys, is mad as hell and wants nothing to do with it.
Well, you tried. See ya.
It made it all the more satisfying when Clank finally got through to him.
Look, I'm still gunning for Qwark. If we end up taking out Drek too, hey, fine. What?
You do care.
Don't push it, pal.
So, what's happening in this game now, though? Well, Clank thinks it's a good idea to think of a plan before attacking the enemy base, but Ratchet is just like, YOLO, and then they go and do the mission.
All those in favor of kicking in Drek's front door with a massive arsenal and restoring peace to a galaxy in turmoil, say aye.
Aye!
All those in favor of nerding it up here with some pie charts, say nay.
Nay.
I mean, they don't really talk about it at all, like they would have done in the original game, because they're on different sides of this big table, you know? Yeah. I mean, they probably wouldn't be able to hear each other, so... Pokitaru now has Grimm's brother as the escort mission instead of the funny resort owner guy.
The Puffoids have been coming ashore ever since.
Which means more talking, but I guess you expected that.
You got enough to buy a pixelizer!
Funny they added one brother and removed another, since here is where you'd find Al's sibling who would make the thruster pack. We got to see how unamused Ratchet is by this whole adventure post-Qwark betrayal in these juxtaposing scenarios.
Ratchet, am I cool now?
Yeah, you the man, Clank.
That's right, I am the man.
Yeah, not bad.
This time it's just Al again, making references to comic conventions and other top-brand nerd humor.
Real tired of these Qwark. You know they showed up just as I was about to speak on a panel about everything wrong with comic book-based holo films.
And Schmoot was there? Really? Oh, I love her. She hates everything.
There isn't a holo film, game, or online product launch she hasn't shredded in the comment section. You know, that kind of judgment takes real skill.
Yeah, maybe next time you're making fun of online critics, try and do it without a chair clipping through you. The level itself is mostly unchanged, even the hidden gold bolt path is still here, despite being a little tricky to find this time. What the fuck? What? Why did the fish come and bite me and then swim away? Most games that have giant fish that stop the player from swimming out of bounds have, like, the fish eat the character? Because that's why fish bite things? What's with this fish that it just bites me and swims away? Why the hell would a fish do that? Could they really not be bothered to make a fish eating animation, so instead this happens? Actually, the fish technically never even touches me. This is a fucking outrage, man. How did they get away with this? The oxygen mask is still acquired on this planet, but since any point in the game where it's mandatory was removed, it's basically optional now. Which, yes, means that Auxon, the original Blarg homeworld, is gone. In the first game, the Blarg home planet that got polluted was Auxon, and Qwark was just a place they had the robot factory that Clank was created in. Here, those concepts are just merged together, and Auxon's completely cut out of the story. Furthermore, Qwark is now completely different anyway, and oh yeah, we'll be getting to that shit soon, son. Auxon was this really cool moment because when you arrive, the air is so toxic that only Clank can leave the ship. And you're given access to this tiny section of the world, extremely hostile, making playing as the tiny Clank here feel even more daunting. Then later, once you have the O2 mask, you can come back and explore as Ratchet. And suddenly the level becomes this giant toxic wasteland and this frickin' banger kicks in. It let you see the hell the Blarg homeworld had become firsthand. Even enemies were like supercharged and best avoided, instead of this weird floating city thing in the Reboot Qwark. Despite also basically being the place the entire story gets catalyzed, it's still just some random planet. It makes it feel like a truly forgotten place, instead of if the game had just put a big magnifying glass over it and made something really important happen to Ratchet and Clank there. As mentioned before, Hoven also got the cut, a really well-rounded level with a shooting action path, a platforming route, and a puzzle section that leads to, you guessed it,
Oh my goodness! Aren't you just a little angel?
Yeah, but looks aren't everything.
You be nice.
Can you really call these two lads if they aren't getting sold at each other over women? I mean, who are these two new goobers? This level also had a really cool theme that pushed you forward since the planet was like 5 minutes away from being blown up. Unfortunately, that kind of fast-paced get-to-the-chopper theme is like every theme in the reboot, even the chilled-out Clank stages, but for this level in particular, it fits, because there's a bit of time stress going on. I'll miss you, Hoven.
You two are through.
Jealous?
Anyway, yeah, the new Qwark. In this review, when I say something along the lines of, oh hey, the level design is mostly unchanged, that's usually a compliment, because the level design in the first game is top platforming stuff. Qwark has completely been altered from its original version, and now it's basically just a room. There's a Clank stage, which I mean, is fine. Just some simple puzzle solving plus an annoying new character who talks through the whole segment, of course.
I'm gonna lose my job for this mess.
Because that's mandatory now. The original level had a swimming section, a stealth segment, the giant Clank area, and this funky beat. I'm trying not to pad this review with tons of old music, but geez, I just can't help myself. Oh yeah, remember Giant Clank? Yeah, actually, never mind, screw this new Clank level. Where's Giant Clank? He's not really used much in the series anymore. It's this really cool role reversal where now suddenly Ratchet is on Clank's back and Clank is just this striding beast that tears through everything. It's not in this reboot though, because like a lot of its celebrity cameos, Clank is barely relevant to anything this time, despite, being in the title. Qwark in the original was also home to one of the best scenes in the game. After exploring much of the galaxy, Clank returns to the place of his birth and meets his mother. It's such a heartwarming scene. She congratulates him on what he's done. The final reveal that Drek is gonna blow up Ratchet's planet, giving the ending some personal stakes occurs. Ratchet finally realizes what has to be done to Clank's joy.
Drek is going to find out what happens when you mess with my home. What are you smiling at?
This is the Ratchet I always knew was there.
And then...
I will try to make you proud, Mom.
So what do they do in the reboot version?
Oh my. This assembly line is the place of my creation. I am experiencing many conflicting feelings.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's great, Clank. Why didn't you say so? No need to elaborate, I guess, on that. No need to address any of this and build up the characters. Just say what the character is feeling. Don't have them talk about it. Blade Runner when Roy Batty is giving that tearful speech at the end, reflecting on his creation, life, and the meaning it has? Yeah, just cut that whole scene. Just have him say,
I am experiencing many conflicting feelings.
Jobs are good and just end the movie right there. Just bravo, Oscar worthy. Look, Ratchet and Clank 1 doesn't have like the greatest story in the world or the most complex characters, or even the best character arcs, but holy shit, it was way better than it had any right to be. And when trying to reboot that story, what an incredible foundation there was to develop the cool stuff that was there into something even better, getting professional writers in to take it to the next level. But instead, we get,
I am experiencing many conflicting feelings.
It's just sad, man. What a waste. So anyway, the Mr. Zircon meme is taken to the next level with a big female version boss. How do you beat it? You circle around and you shoot. It had the spice of being slightly challenging until you realize there's a vending machine in the same room you fight her where you can refill all ammo and health, completely breaking the entire fight. Another level that wasn't updated was Qwark's space station, where you'd find him in the original after hunting him down. This was a really neat level. It was cool to take a step back from all the comedy and just have a stage that took place in the middle of nowhere. An unsettling but catchy track playing while you took in the unnerving vast emptiness of space. So yeah, I can see why they wouldn't have put this in the reboot. Boring, am I right, fellas? Though if they had, no doubt there would have been some kind of zany character who owned the space station, or just Qwark himself who would make endless quips as you played through. They'd get frustrated at Ratchet making it across the level and threaten to cut their lackey's salary or something. You know, to be honest, I'm just kind of glad these levels are just safe at home and the PS2 original far away from the touch of this title's writing.
Do a barrel roll!
The Qwark ship fight, of course, isn't in the reboot either. I mean, I guess this fight against the big robot guy in the ship is kind of similar. Only that thing takes like 2 seconds, while the Qwark ship fight was this challenging, really well-balanced tug-of-war boss battle that was actually a little exhilarating. The reboot jumps over to the Deplanetizer, and now it's its own stage with original level design, so of course it's just like a bunch of hallways. You run and shoot, again, there's no real unique gameplay to distinguish it. Qwark Station had like these towers keeping up barriers, you had to figure out how to take them out. These mad turret boys. But here you just run and shoot. I guess this level is unique in the fact that you don't get Clank, which is a shake-up that was done in the original and another cut level, Oltanis, where a thunderstorm prevented Clank from leaving the ship. Though that was a sprawling level with 3 paths with tons of platforming that late in the game without Clank was actually pretty challenging to deal with. But here the whole level's like a bunch of corridors, so you basically barely notice he isn't there. Now this section is filled with glitzy pre-rendered cutscenes, so that's right, we're back in movie territory. Now it seems at this point the writers realized, oh shit, we need at least some development to happen to our lead characters. So I have Ratchet fail to stop Drek from blowing up an evacuated planet, so he goes home like a little baby boy. And then after one talk with Clank, have him be like, yeah, I guess I should keep doing stuff. Yeah, it goes without saying that a 2-minute conversation doesn't really live up to a conflict of motivation and character being played out during an entire game. You can't just condense something like that down into a 2-minute cutscene to try and add some last-minute drama before the third act. At least we can point out how funny it is that the Ratchet in the original goes completely berserk when Qwark tricks him, but this new walking Adderall supplement just goes home a bit upset. By the way, this is like the only conversation Ratchet and Clank have in the whole game, and it's just Clank going, there. Oh yeah, so about Qwark's betrayal.
Oh, hey!
Qwark? Captain Qwark has been changed substantially in this remake, all leading up to a betrayal which I've been trying to wrap my head around, but everywhere I look at it just doesn't make all that much sense. So okay, so Captain Qwark is the leader of the Galactic Rangers, who after Ratchet shows up for about a couple hours is like, damn, I'm really jealous of all the positive attention he's getting. So when they all arrive at the Deplanetizer to stop Drek, he instead teams up with Drek and just kind of sits in a room and lets him blow up a planet. I mean, he switches sides, but it doesn't really affect Drek winning, because he's already got Ratchet trapped in a ball. Then instead of Drek killing Ratchet, he launches him into space? Question mark?
I want him to live to see his failure.
Ah, so we can see how he's failed by showing him the planet exploding. He couldn't have just done that from a window in the ship and then killed him? No? But how exactly does joining the bad guys help Qwark get more attention? I mean, everyone knows he just helped Drek destroy a planet, so surely nobody would like him after that.
I'm the official spokesman for Drek's new planet.
Now, I suppose in the first game he was like the spokesperson for Drek's new world, which doesn't make too much sense either. I don't know how you can give good publicity to destroying planets, but maybe he was finagling his way around it, I don't know. Certainly more wiggle room for Qwark to be seen positively in the public eye than his betrayal in this game, where they understandably immediately dislike him for it.
In the wake of Novellis' destruction and Captain Qwark's shocking betrayal, Galactic President Phyronix has issued a galaxy-wide alert to all Solana citizens.
Listen, I don't know, I can't be expected to do that much research into these frickin' Crash Bandicoot games.
You tried to kill my Rangers. You said you'd leave them alone.
Oh, so he did do it to help the Rangers live? So maybe Drek didn't kill Ratchet because Qwark told him not to? Well, I guess the betrayal's kind of heroic then? But that would go against what Qwark wanted the whole game, which is for Ratchet to die so he could be in the spotlight again. Qwark in the first game was bent from the start, and Drek was supporting him from the beginning. Qwark would get the publicity from Drek, who was working behind the scenes, and then not put up any resistance to him tearing up planets. Even a big media presence in this universe could be bought and sold. You can see why Ratchet would be so mad at this guy. He finally leaves his home to see the rest of the galaxy, only to discover that everyone is a big, dishonest, scummy, greedy, self-entitled prick, and their largest supposed hero is the biggest of them all. Qwark didn't get a hint of redemption for all this until the end of the third game, and after so long it felt a bit earned. Here, he's regretting his choice immediately afterwards and drops Drek like an hour later. A character arc that took over 3 years worth of writing is now awkwardly attempted to be condensed into like an hour of the title. As with Ratchet, it's an attempt to make their characters likable rather than interesting or have their choices make sense. They're confusing the audience liking a character with that character being likable. People didn't like Qwark for those 3 games because he was a good guy who gets redeemed immediately after doing something wrong. They liked him because he was a funny character, good-willed or bad-willed. He had a lot of funny jokes and gags, like this scene where he goes undercover after being defeated is just perfect.
Captain Qwark!
Where?
Come on, Qwark, I know it's you.
The name's Steve. Pleased to meet you.
Look, Steve.
But he was mainly popular because he was just a good character, not because, he's actually a great guy.
You can always trust Gadgetron quality, or my name's not Steve.
Also, why does he get to keep his iconic design, but Ratchet gets saddled with this mess of an outfit? Why are the Galactic Rangers all blue if the leader's color is green? Because then they'd have to make Ratchet green, and they didn't want to do that. Oh, well then make Qwark blue, but then he doesn't look like Qwark, I guess. Oh yeah, I see how you guys boned yourselves there. Got a bit distracted there. Yeah, Drek's new target becomes...
His next target is Umbris.
Umbris? I guess Umbris is in this game, sort of. And if Umbris blows up, it will blow up like the whole solar system? Yeah, I mean, I guess the entire solar system going up in smoke is a big stake, but it ain't that personal shit, man. Anyway, kind of like the original, they need to get a disguising device from Gadgetron HQ so they can infiltrate the deplanetizer again. Gadgetron, of course, being the company that makes the weapons in this galaxy. So yeah, one of my favorite stages in Ratchet 1 was this level, Kalibo 3. And I'm actually quite surprised it made the transition to the reboot fairly untouched instead of them turning it into some generic warehouse or something. The level has you running through some weapon test rooms, and it's kinda cool how they added little blog guys trying to kill you with the test dummies, I guess. The grind boot segment is intact with its secret area. I mean, it's not that secret anymore now that there's prompts over the buttons you had to hit to get to it, but whatever.
Use your Omni Wrench.
Do we really need this garish white overlay over the screen to give the illusion of speed? I get it, we're moving. They also removed the help desk girl from where you get the hidden secret map mod. In the original, it was a really cool moment because you actually get to meet the tutorial lady who sends you the optional messages throughout the game. And it would make sense for her to be on the Gadgetron planet where all the stuff is made. Of course, putting her in this game would have meant having to make a one-off NPC scene, and we know they don't like to do that anymore. I suppose if you wanted to put the people giving you the tutorials on the island in this game, you'd have to put like the whole cast here, and I guess that wouldn't have made too much sense. The place seems to be kind of distraught about the invasion for some reason.
Down everything! Activate all security protocols! Cancel Casual Friday!
In the original, it was just like, well, we're not that bothered because we make the weapons, so I think we'll be okay.
I was wondering if you were concerned about the, invasion?
Son, our defenses are the best money can buy. Don't give it another thought.
Anyway, the original had this really cool idea where you'd meet the CEO of Gadgetron, and even start working there to get an employee discount.
Do I get a discount on gadgets now?
You have to be with the company for 2 years before the employee discount kicks in.
Turns out the discount doesn't kick in for 2 years. But then 2 years later, when Ratchet & Clank 3 came out, if you had a save file from Ratchet 1, you could get discounts on all the Gadgetron weapons in that game. It was this really cool in-universe reason for giving long-time players a little bonus. So I'm really excited to see what they do when you get here in this reboot.
The kids love their social medias. Hashtag Gadgetron.
I mean, do I really need to go on? I mean, it's like, who cares now? Like, does anyone give a shit anymore? Is this what your audience wants? Did anyone laugh at this? Did the person who wrote the joke laugh at this? Did anyone in the studio laugh at this? Did anyone in the world laugh at this? I'm laughing. I've been talking for like an hour, but I could have just shown you this and been done with it. Here's where we see this weird plot twist where Dr. Nefarious, who was the villain from the third game and has been in this game for all of about 2 cutscenes, stabs Drek in the back and then tosses him in a ship and sends him away. He's out of the game, bye. This is so weird. It's like you set up this new beef Ratchet must have with Drek, and instead of letting Ratchet give him his comeuppance, you let another villain do the job. Like, okay, it's one thing to do a kind of wacky switcheroo like this, maybe in some spin-off game ways down the line, but who lets the main villain of an origin story just get stomped on when the hero isn't even around by some guy who's barely in the game? Like, I get it, we all know it's Dr. Nefarious from the funny third game, but in this title he's like a non-presence basically. Who wants a character from a different game coming in and shanking this one? In the movie, Nefarious and his backstory is given a little more explanation. Apparently, he was with the Galactic Rangers and Qwark's shit pissed him off, so he quit and became a villain. And now he wants to show the universe how shitty the Rangers are by killing everybody, which will show how useless they are. Okay. Only a bit of this motivation is brought up in the game. Some blog in an optional area mentions something about him being a Galactic Ranger.
Can you imagine? Chairman Drek taking orders from a former Galactic Ranger?
But this vendetta is hardly worked in there. Did you not have enough to go on for one game with just Drek and his plans? Imagine if they had taken the idea of a villain who only wants the best for his people and that's why he's invading, and instead of just being like, lol, he doesn't care at the end, build a whole ends justify the means kind of villain out of Drek. Crack in Time tried this and actually had a pretty good ending, all things considered. But no, we needed meme humor, we needed memes. I can only assume how this creative meeting went. Okay, so we're rebooting Ratchet and making a movie. Who should the villain be? Well, this is a faithful remake, so we gotta have Drek in there, or it's not really a remake. Okay, good, but not many people remember him because he was just kind of a serious guy, so make sure you give him loads of cocky jokes so he's exactly like every other bad guy in the series. Okay, no problem, but we should also bring back the most famous Ratchet villain, Nefarious. And we can kind of do that because he used to be just some alien guy before he became a robot. Yeah, sounds good. I mean, we'll change that whole backstory. Have him come in at the last moment and do a takeover so he can be the final boss, and that will justify his presence in the marketing. Let's not make the villain already there better, just have another more popular villain come in and squish him out. Insert boardroom applause scene here. Right, well, they take the stealth mission, infiltration stuff from the Qwark 2 and the Drek ship level from the original, and just kind of smash it into one stage. There used to be 2 places to use the holo guys, but now there's just one. Come on, we gotta wrap this shit up. The original had a level where you'd go to Drek's personal ship. It had a secret path and a challenging stealth section intercut with a badass dogfight where you blow up Drek's flagship. It was cool, made you feel like you were single-handedly doing a lot of damage to his operation. They even had a swimming section. They included a swimming section on a spaceship, just to have more stuff in the game. Madmen. Mwah. Then the game came full circle and took the fight to Veldin. The tiny tutorial prologue level turns into this big, ominous, giant final area. Such a cool way to end the adventure with a significant location to place the finale. In the reboot, the ending takes place on the Deplanetizer, and who really cares? Why not have the finale on Veldin like before? I'm sure you guys, of all people, could have contrived a reason for them to go there. The original had some cooldown with a stealth level and then a blowout action sequence on Veldin, where all of the tools from the game were put to the test. Here it's all condensed into one level for a really rushed ending. Speaking of rushed...
Greetings, Cadet.
Greetings, Cadet. Oh shit, I guess the boss fight's starting already. This is the first moment Qwark shows up in this level and we get a split second to react before the fight begins. I'm thinking having to cut away from a movie scene is to blame for that, maybe. The Captain Qwark fight here is probably the best fight in the game. Still just a lot of circle strafing, but the Groovatron, after so much exposure throughout the series recently, finally gets a punchline when Qwark uses it on Ratchet and then you have to dance over to it to get back in the fight. I'm glad all these years of memeing it up was worth it, guys. So yeah, the ending, woo. Nefarious gets in a machine that looks a bit like Drek's mech from the original and has a fight with you. This time it's in the air, so no, it's still circle strafing, you can just move a little more now. It's really got nothing on the first game's final boss. Glitchy boss theme that doesn't play on some copies of the game aside, like the HD collection, guys. It really delivered on a number of levels. First there was a short segment with a giant Clank that made it look like for a second it would be a mech fight. But then he turns Clank back into regular size and forces you to fight him across different hazardous terrain as you're platforming your way over to him. Then after Drek's true intentions get revealed, he activates the Deplanetizer. Yeah, who would have thought the big weapon they hype up actually ties into the gameplay instead of just cutscenes? In the middle of the boss fight, you have to head into the center of the stage to stop the entire planet from blowing up. Every now and again, Drek will head into the middle to activate the beam, and each time the countdown gets shorter and shorter. Finally, he gets catapulted onto the planet that he built. You activate the Deplanetizer yourself to blow his plans to smithereens. Mwah! Buenissimo. Here you circle strafe around for a few minutes and it's all good. Honestly, this boss is a real joke. In the original game, even with the Rhino, the final boss wasn't a pushover and still required some effort. Here it's like, just like, give it a minute, and it's done. Plus, if you got all the gold bolts, you can just turn infinite ammo and health on, and then it's not even worth mentioning. As a kid, the old boss fight kicks my ass, as it should. I can beat it now without it, but back then I'm pretty sure I saved up to get the Rhino so I could deliver the smackdown to this guy, looking for any sort of edge throughout the game I could find to take him out. Take that approach of looking for any possible way to get the advantage with this reboot, and you just get infinite health, and then I mean, well, what was even the point of having a final boss? Just roll credits when I get all the gold bolts. So after the boss fight, our duo and the now redeemed Qwark try to escape, but right at the last moment, the captain falls over and it's like, how are we gonna get out of here? He's all like, save yourself!
What are you doing?
And then Clank is like,
Improvising.
Improvising?
Improvising.
Which, did Ratchet say he himself was improvising early in the game? Is that like a callback?
Hey, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I sincerely doubt it.
You know, this time I am thinking what you're thinking.
I can't remember, honestly. Despite all this is probably the best scene in the game. Qwark realizes that working together is a good idea, which was kind of the moral of the first game.
This is a lot bigger than you or me. I was really selfish focusing on Qwark.
But there lies the problem. This game isn't called Ratchet and Qwark, it's called Ratchet and Clank. Their origin story to establish the status quo. One of the things the first Ratchet story got so right was that it focused pretty much exclusively on the eponymous heroes. Hence all the one-off character meetings and the duo being in the spotlight. No random celebrity voices hanging out with them the whole game. Why is Qwark the one that gets the character arc, as weird and confusing as it was? Even after the ending, we cut back to Qwark and how he's doing. Nothing, on the protagonists and how they've grown on their first adventure. Even the movie tried to do that. This should be the story about how Ratchet and Clank develop and become friends and learn to work together, not about how Qwark does so. This moment between the two wasn't earned at all. They barely spoke to each other. And now Ratchet's got that look like, oh, that Clank, we're such good friends. Like, what? Like, who are you two? Who the fuck are they? Goddamn, you really want to compare?
We, still need to fix that arm.
To this?
Improvising.
We got jacked, bro. We got jacked. Oh yeah, and that's where the game stops. Challenge modes are all here and accounted for. Even the dreariest of Ratchet games are fun to blast through again a few times, unlocking secrets and upgrading to new, more powerful weapons. They even included an Insomniac museum of sorts, which the original didn't have. Some of the older games had this extra hidden level with loads of cut content in it. You could hear the devs talk about what they didn't add and why it wasn't added. Here though, the Insomniac Museum is just kind of this weird model room. You see a bunch of old items and characters strung about the scenery. Kind of like a funeral room. This is kind of like a eulogy to the series. Oh look, here's the Visibomb. Why are you stuck here? Anyway, it's better than what most games do, so props for at least something to cater to the old fans. Cause I gotta admit, the trading cards with old artwork on them wasn't really doing it for me. Hey, come over here, look at this bit of art. You see Clank combing his antenna in this image? Yeah, that's probably the funniest thing in this whole game. What a wild ride. So now for the important part, how screwed is this series? Well, looking at the sales of the game, you may think it was quite the success. I mean, it sold fast, whatever that tells you. But we need look no further than the box office of the Ratchet movie to get a sense of how much of a not success the game's banal, boring, and lifeless characters had in a medium where they needed to stand up on their own. And this, to my annoyance, is what the real shame about this whole affair is. The first Ratchet & Clank was a cool, original idea. A witty, smart adventure about a sharp, juxtaposed duo in a retro sci-fi world of satire with a hint of edge. That idea is gone now, replaced with an easy, safe story and characters trying as hard as possible to be like everybody else. Like a friend of mine who's also been in these trenches once said,
"This series was suffering because while it had started out as a satire on consumerism, it had become a franchise seeking the same status as its satire."
In doing so, they created a weird, awkward mix. The harsher elements of the series, like the weapons, clash awfully with a kid-friendly character jumping along to a whimsical score. You can see why this clash didn't play well with people just being exposed to the property via the movie. I mean, who would really want to see this movie anyway? Poster looks like Food Fight or some shit. You turn a cool idea into a tired one to fit in, and then of course everyone is going to accuse you of being played out. What's ironic here is that the original style the series had would have stood out way more than this new attempt to pander and cater to modern audiences with slick, shiny science fiction and cutesy mascots. Putting to one side, though, the choices made in terms of style and characterization, I think it's worth pointing out why the structure is so different between these two games. Ratchet on PS2 doesn't follow the basic motivation and structure rules that these jokers writing the film probably learned they needed to use, so out goes everything about these original characters. In comes the 3-act structure and the generic hero motivation. I want to be a hero being probably the laziest new motivation to pick for a character, because then basically beating an evil guy at the end fulfills that motivation with no effort. Their choice was doubly lazy here because picking that easy motivation was what led to the jarring clash of our weapon-savvy destruction beast, who kills hundreds, now needing to be a wide-eyed hero wannabe with a heart of gold. I don't know how much the developers at Insomniac Games were forced to keep in line with how the movie's plot played out, but spreading a 3-act structure and character motivations designed for a 90-minute film out across a 10-hour game did this story no favors. It's why our hero now needs a played-out set goal from the start that carries through to the end, instead of us being able to see his character develop naturally over hours of various dips and peaks that a game can offer. It's why there's a lowest point 2nd act ending that comes out of nowhere and feels totally forced and unwarranted, given the 5 hours of game we haven't spent learning anything about these characters. The gameplay itself has been smoothed down so much of any conceivable rough edges that what you get is just a really bland, safe third-person shooter with some jumping, in opposition to the creative mishmash of ideas and style the first title presented. Yeah, there's fun to be had jumping and shooting, but once you add on the lackluster performance, it's not something I can get into. It's a different beast. The entire original game was coated in this nuts and bolts, messy, dirty aesthetic that lent itself well to the medley of concepts it had, while now we have a safe, shiny toy that smiles and chuckles but has no real edge to it. No spark, and when your utterly safe and perfunctory gameplay and style is still tied to a plot and story that suffers from incredible messiness, then that's how you end up here. And in terms of the story issues stemming from the coinciding movie, well, unfortunately I'm comparing two games here. Despite the movie contrivances that may have led up to this new title being so wonky, one game with the same name is definitely worse than the other. That's why, as I said, this situation is so disappointing to me. If you've sat through this entire indulgent rant, then you've probably come to at least one conclusion. I sure do love this fun little game. When I think of Ratchet, I think of that mad galaxy I got to explore and discover as a youth, and I've always wanted to share that with people. We all want to share the things we love and present to folk why we enjoyed them. Now that this remake exists though in the form that it does, well, what I wanted to share has been supplanted in the public eye by something of way lesser quality, and I will always try my best to push to the forefront the things that I find commendable. That's why this video exists. In this case, I had to delineate why this game fails to appropriately update the thing that I thought was so good. But to some people, this Ratchet may become that classic title they remember, and I can't stop that from happening. You can have it, but at the end of the day, I gotta stick up for my boys. And after all, isn't that the moral of this whole series?
Thank you, and have a Qwark-tastic day!
What'd you say?
Nothing.